Hold on, though we might want to the light. It's true that each and every afternoon the darkness comes a little bit earlier. Soon we'll be immersed, though, in a season that's dedicated to welcoming back the light. Hanukkah and winter solstice and Christmas are right around the corner. But before we get there, before we dive in these next few weeks, we give ourselves to exploring the gifts of the dark wood here in worship. The concept of a spiritual dark wood, entered by all of us at some point in our lives, was made popular by Dante's Divine Comedy. I'm sure you all are at home reading that at night, aren't you? Right? I am. We often imagine the dark wood as a place to avoid. I think about Hansel and Gretel, who were abandoned in that dark and scary forest. I think about those twisted branches of Mirkwood in the tales of the Hobbit. And whether it's in fairy tales or in the very real places of loneliness and fear that we carry in our lives, we put up signs that say, "Beware, all ye who enter here. Don't pass this way." But like so much of life, the dark wood in our spiritual lives is complex and nuanced. It's more than only a place of struggle and doubt. We approach it this month seeking to learn a bit more about our spiritual lives. Ancient Christian mystics understood the metaphor of a dark wood as a place where each of us can receive the gift of the strange and wonderful gifts about ourselves, about our connection with each other, and our connection with the sacred, if only we dare to enter. It's a place where personal revelation can take place, and you can discover a little bit more about what your life is about. Our reading this morning from Angela Herrera describes so beautifully what it feels like when we find ourselves immersed in or on the edge of fear and uncertainty. She wrote, "Now I am far from home. My heart aches for familiar land, for people who greeted me with kisses. I can't find the way back, it doesn't exist. I can't find the way forward, but I long for the place I knew." Being in an unfamiliar land, unsure of the way out, longing for the security and comfort of home. There's so much in our lives that can bring us to that point. Depression, the end of a relationship, despair over the state of the world, the death of a loved one, a serious health threat. It seems like every day there is something that can guide us into these spaces of doubt and uncertainty. And sometimes when we get there, our confidence in all that we thought we knew is completely shaken, and we find ourselves completely exhausted and worn out. It's hard to even imagine being on a different path. It's hard to imagine that a gift can emerge from being in a place such as that. Even if we center ourselves and think maybe there is a gift to be found, it can evade us, and instead we find that the voice that whispered wind into our sails has now stilled. And we experience not a silence that can feed us, but a silence that reminds us of the distance we feel from all that we know and love and believe in. We can be left feeling completely and totally empty. My guess is I'm not alone in having those types of experiences once or twice or more in my life. Parker Palmer is a Quaker writer, and he knew this type of emptiness through depression. And it's something that he spent a lot of time writing about. It was a depression that left him feeling that he could not find a way back home. And once he was on the other side of it, he was able to reflect on some of the things he carried out of that dark wood with him. And he describes that experience. He wrote, "Like a wild animal, soul is tough, resilient, resourceful, savvy, and self-sufficient. It knows how to survive in hard places." I learned about these qualities during my bouts with depression. In that deadly darkness, the faculties I had always depended on collapsed. My intellect was useless. My emotions were dead. My will was impotent. My ego was shattered. But from time to time, deep in the thickets of my inner wilderness, I could sense the presence of something that knew how to stay alive even when the rest of me wanted to die. That something was my tough and tenacious soul. When we find ourselves feeling as Palmer did, useless, dead, impotent, shattered, it can swallow us up. And it can make us immune to that presence of that something that's inside of us. Like the children from our story today, all too often, if we find ourselves holding an empty pot and unsure about what it was we had done wrong to make it so empty, sometimes we rush in to fill it, right? And there's so many things that entice us to want us to fill that pot, a lot of them not so good for us. We feel like we need to show the world that our pot actually, it's not empty. It's filled with lush greenery and red, white, and blue flowers and the finest fruits, and that actually everything is okay. We're all good. There's this pull and even expectation that we need to hurriedly fill ourselves back up again. And I wonder for myself, I wonder for you, what would it be like if we just told ourselves it's okay to be a little bit empty now and again? What if we let our loved ones and our friends feel a little bit empty sometimes, instead of rushing in and trying to fill up their pot for them? What if we told ourselves over and over that our worthiness actually is not at all tied to how productive or cheerful or important or how many pictures we're posting on social media? That has nothing to do with our innate worthiness. What if we let ourselves lean into the universalist notion that each and every one of us is loved just because we exist, just because we are, not because of anything we're doing? Parker Palmer continued thinking about the humble aspects of our souls. And the way he describes it is that despite its toughness, the soul is also shy. Just like a wild animal, it seeks safety in the dense underbrush, especially when other people are around. If we want to see a wild animal, we know that the last thing we should do is to go crashing through the woods, yelling for it to come out, come out. But if we'll walk quietly into the woods, sit patiently at the base of a tree, breathe with the earth, and fade into our surroundings, the wild creature we seek might put in an appearance. We may see it briefly and only out of the corner of an eye, but the sight is a gift we'll always treasure as an end unto itself. And I love this image of all of our souls hiding out in the underbrush. And I wonder how often I am guilty of running through the thickets of our community life here together and yelling at you to let your soul be free and visible. And again, I wonder what it would be like if we gave each other a little bit of a grace margin, that when our souls need to hide, we let them do that. And if we could give ourselves the gift of patience with ourselves, to be kind and gentle and patient when our own souls are hiding out. And I wonder if we could give our loved ones who are in liminal spaces of disconnection, if we could offer them the gift of being kind and gentle and patient, and let their souls hide out just a little bit, knowing that we're there to receive them when they're ready. As we continue on our journey into the dark wood this month, I invite you, especially in this next week, I invite you to spend some time just to notice each and every time that you find yourself feeling a little bit empty, whatever it is that brings it on. And then instead of rushing to fill it up or wondering, why do I feel this way? Aren't I supposed to feel happy or amazing or accomplished or whatever it is those words are that you carry around with you? What if you just notice it without judgment? Imagine it as that little animal hiding under the underbrush there. And in those moments where you may find yourself feeling a little bit empty, I invite you to listen quietly and to see if you can discern the stirrings of your soul and what it's trying to tell you in the moment and where it's inviting you to move in the world. May we continue creating beloved community together. Amen and blessed be. May your life